Hi everyone, I'm Lynn Woodland, and this is the year-long Miracles Course Wednesday night class. Now, each one of these sessions offers a little bite-sized but complete experience, so you can drop in anytime. And that said, each class builds upon the last. And each one will offer some different aspect of personal and spiritual growth, creating a whole experience over the course of the year, all toward the end goal of leading a miraculous life, which is really different from, I just want to manifest more money or a new relationship or a blah-de-blah, a single goal. This is about just enhancing the whole quality of our lives. And you'll find that the spiritual work and the exercises we do here, the content, in other words, is all set in the context of the season. Because the seasons provide such a lovely template for the whole of human experience. And here we are, kind of in the middle of May. And this time of year, mid-spring, it's all about growing. It's when light and warmth and vegetation are all on the rise, and consequently, what we're giving attention to here is about growing our dreams and bringing our aspirations and goals and dreams into fruition. And tonight, along those lines, we're going to do some group manifesting together, which we're going to be doing more and more over the next couple of months in these seasons of light and growth. Up to this point, we've been giving a lot more attention to cultivating some of the personal qualities of spiritual mastery. Like, just what do we need in terms of refining our personalities so that we can just masterfully call in the big stuff, not just the little, fun synchronicities and the occasional, like, oh, I thought that and there it is. But really raising the quality of life. So the manifesting that we're doing tonight, or just in general, starts with identifying what's truly important to you. And for those of you who've been here before, our work here is all about using intention and focus and inner guidance, among other things, to lead us to the path of our highest good. And if we don't have a clear sense of what that is, we may be aspiring towards something that won't ultimately fulfill us. And I'll talk more about that actually in other lessons. But for now, I want to, put on the screen a worksheet with a lot of categories of life listed. And let's see, I think I know how to do this. For any of you who can't see this, I think everybody's on their computer and should be able to see. But I want you to, I'm going to read through them a couple of times. And I want you to just listen and look on the screen to see what area of your life feels the most charged. In other words, where do you have the most passionate desire to have, to be, or to do something? And here's my screen. Let's see. For a minute, I thought you all got my recipe for a strawberry shortcake. It was really good, by the way, in case you did get that. All right. Here are the categories of life I want you to think about and see which one of these just screams at you, this is what really, really does something for me. Work, life purpose, creative expression, number one. Money, material possessions, the second one. Romance and partnership, number three. Family and friends, number four. I'm sorry, family is number four. Friends is a whole separate category because they are quite different. The next one is health, fitness, and body image. The next one is home. The next one is recreation, relaxation, and fun. And then the next is spirituality. Next comes state of mind. And then if I haven't covered them for you, other, we specify. So I think everybody can see these, so I won't read them again. Just look over and see what just, like, yeah, I'm just trying to get clear about my purpose, my career, or yeah, I just want to call in my perfect partner, or I'm just really working on more inner peace in my life, whatever it is. I'm working on healing a physical thing. See what feels most important to you and just write that down. By the way, for those of you who haven't been here before, every one of these live classes has a lot of written materials to accompany it. And we'll tell you how to get to those at the end of tonight. And this worksheet, I believe, is maybe in, I think it's in tonight's. Oh, it was probably, I think it was in last week. It was in last week. We'll give you access to that as well. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. So when you've got your category, what I want you to really make sure you've written down is your highest heart's desire, not, well, I'd settle for, so if you want to heal a physical issue, don't just write down, I no longer feel in excruciating pain every minute of the day. Instead, say, I am radiantly healthy and feel great in my body. Something like that. Just make sure you really put it into terms that are the highest that you want, not just, I'd settle for this. And make sure, as we talked about last week, that you've identified an outcome rather than a process step, as in, I'm ready for my new home, instead of, I want more money so I can buy a new home. In fact, you might even put it in the context of an affirmation. So instead of saying, I want a new home, or I'm ready for a new home, say, I now have my perfect, beautiful home where I'm happy and healthy and warm and cozy, etc. So phrase that accordingly. And we are going to do an exercise in manifesting. But as a way to introduce it, I want to talk a little bit about the history of what is really now the popularized law of attraction teachings. I'm going to go back to 1980, in the 1980s, because there was a whole rash of literature that came out around then, pioneered by people like Louise Hay and Shakti Gawain and a number of others that promoted affirmations and a lot of other kind of, probably familiar techniques. And they took older metaphysical teachings and blending them with modern psychology to make them into very accessible growth tools. And those teachings have been just growing and growing in popularity ever since. There's a great big spike when, remember the movie and the book The Secret, when that hit the Oprah Winfrey show around 2006, I believe it was. Suddenly the law of attraction became kind of mainstreamed. Personally, I think that's when they hit their peak and we started to become ready for something, not to push them aside, but to evolve on top of those. And these older teachings from the 80s placed a lot of emphasis on self-love, on having it all, and on getting what we want. And when they first came out in the 80s, they really were just very fresh and exciting and powerful. And they really were exactly what we needed to hear then. And if you're old enough to remember, back as far as the 80s, it was a time when conspicuous consumption was very much in vogue. I think that was where the word yuppies might have gotten its start. That's when everybody, wanted to go out to the new, greatest, trendy restaurant. And, people were spending. And people really aspired to separate themselves from the herd, to be one of a kind. And the message was, maybe everybody can't have a little piece of the American dream, but if you're really clever enough, you can have it all. Remember Gordon Gekko, like greed is good. That was kind of like, the evil end of this teaching, which was really good and important in its way at the time. Because it was all about the power of the individual. We needed to learn about self-love, not being a selfish thing, and, all those other lessons. But we're just not in that era anymore. I watched in 2008, 2009, when the global economy was in a free fall. I just noticed, especially I kind of marinate in news reports and listen to a lot of different people. I noticed how often I would hear the expression, we're all in the same boat. And then when COVID-19 hit, we started hearing that same message over and over from everywhere. We're all in this together. And things like technology, a globalized economy, environmental crises, a pandemic, all these things have connected us in ways we've never been before, for better and worse. And whether we like it or not, we really can't separate ourselves anymore. Now, personally, I believe there's a hidden blessing and maybe even higher purpose to some of the crises of our time, some of the crazy going on in our world. And I think they're really forcing us toward interdependence and to place value differently, a little bit less on stuff and a little bit more on love and connection and happiness. It doesn't come from, getting the carrot to spin at the end of our stick, but it really comes more from within. And, I think on one hand, there's a dire necessity to learn cooperation. We're coming to a point where we have to learn some of those lessons or we're going to make ourselves extinct. There's a higher dimension to it all as well, which is that we simply have more power together than separately. And there's even some interesting science suggesting that the power of harmoniously joined intention is exponentially greater, not just the sum of the parts, but exponentially greater than the one. There's a really well-known, very well-respected research team. They came out of one of is it Princeton or Harvard? One of those big name universities. They did decades of research, and are really the best known researchers on the connection between mind and matter. And they've just amassed decades of data showing pretty irrefutably that human intention alone can affect the random movements of machines. Now, they also found that the telekinetic power, in other words, the power of minds to move matter, the telekinetic power of two harmoniously joined minds was 6 times that of a single individual. Not twice, but 6 times that. And I think this is just the tip of an iceberg regarding the power of joint consciousness. There's an amplifying effect that kicks in when we work together in love. And I've been leading group workshop type events where I create all kinds of miracle experimenting, personal growth events. You name it. I've been working in this realm for 48 years now. So I don't just, this is not as unlike some of what I say about my intuitive readings. I don't know if it's coming from here or from there. This is not one of those things I'm just pulling out of my ass. I come by this from a lot of experience. There is an amplifying effect that kicks in when we work together in love. Because I've done individual psychotherapy in the past as well, and I gave it up because I found working in groups to be so much more powerful and quick, and it was more impactful. We raised each other up to places we couldn't go alone. And so getting back to the 80s, what that had to do with anything, whereas in one era, we may have really needed to learn about the power we have as an individual, and that we don't have to be held back by the world around us, and that it's not selfish to love ourselves and want more from life. Those are really important lessons that we needed to learn back then in the 80s. In these times, we need to understand that we can actually have more for ourselves by joining together for the highest good of all. And some of the metaphysical teachings for success, if you look at books that you find at your typical, New Age bookstore, they just haven't kept pace with this evolution. Locking ourselves away with our affirmation journals and vision boards and personal success visualization intent on getting what we want. Those practices can easily become a very singular, separating experience. And this just doesn't reflect who we collectively are anymore. Or address the deeper personal growth needs of not just us personally, but humanity collectively to come together. And what's more, just practically speaking, the pure pursuit of our own personal gain isn't even the most effective path to personal fulfillment. For one thing, law of attraction teachings tell us to focus on what we want, create the vibration of it within ourselves, and then it'll show up. Which is true, absolutely true, if we can really stay in that vibration of what we love. Because love in any of its many forms is magnetic. But what often happens, however, is that we identify what we want, and our initial vision of our heart's love, heart's desire, and that first meditation, it's like a total love vibration. It's that place of imagining, like, wouldn't it be wonderful? Which is, a very light, expansive state of mind. And it can also be difficult to hang on to, because that's where we start. And then just little by little, we shift into that state of joy to a state of attachment. We start watching and waiting and looking for signs of what we want to show up. We wonder if it will ever show up. We worry that it won't. I never get what I want. All the old programs just start to, repeat themselves. And all of a sudden, instead of living in the moment in an expansive state of joy, which is a love state, we're worrying about a future outcome. And we're very caught up in our own little world when we're in that state. And it isn't an effective state for attracting our desires. It may be an effective state for having our worst beliefs about life confirmed. Like, see, I never get what I want. See, I knew this law of attraction stuff was just a bunch of crap. That can happen. And the way we've been doing spiritual work here introduces an element of joining in love with other people in this course as part of the process to call forth our own desires. In fact, in my first book, I've written 2 books about miracle making. And the first book is called Holding a Butterfly. That I made that element of joining consciousness even bigger in that I suggested all readers, everyone reading the book right now, join with every other reading. With every other reader. Not just who's reading right now, but every other reader, whoever has read these words or whoever will read these words, to create something that has been called a morphic field of intent. A morphic field being something that exists more as an energy field that, because it's been repeated so many times, actually pulls more minds and beings into it. It's like a well-worn path. By inviting all those people, even across time, I'll talk a little bit about time, it creates the opportunity for a much larger morphic field than even, the 8 of us can create together. And in my next book, which is called The Breakthrough Point, that's my last book, I went a lot more deeply into this material and how, and also the times we're in, why they're crazy, how they reflect an evolutionary lead that we're in the process of taking, not just in woo-woo energetic terms, but in real world, see, here's the signs of them. Because if you only watch the news and see all the signs of the world is, going to hell in a handbasket, just bad and getting worse. And we often take for granted all the ways the world is coming together that aren't that exciting. They're not worthy of the nightly news. And one thing about this element of joining in loving consciousness with others is that it keeps us from going into that counterproductive place of worry and attachment. We feel that love place of our own highest good and heart's desire. We go, wouldn't it be lovely? And then we shift attention to loving someone else and feeling joyful about their heart's desires. So we're a lot less likely to start obsessing and worrying about ourselves. We remain in this state that is magnetic to all kinds of highest good and miracles. And it really doesn't matter if we're feeling love on behalf of our own heart's desire or feeling that love state for someone else. Greed is not the same as love. Greed is actually, a need to have more and more and more that's rooted in fear. Fear really being the opposite and antithetical to love. Love is very much in the present. Greed is much more future and past focused. It's about, oh no, I've been in scarcity. I might be again. I've got to take more and more and more and more and more. No matter how much I have, it's not enough. And there's always some kind of fear under that. Even when it becomes pathological. I know one commentator who I particularly respect by the name of Tom Hartman. He's kind of this brilliant guy who knows something about just about everything, it seems. His whole take on billionaires is that there's a real pathology going on there. That their greed has taken has been taken to the extreme of a pathology. It's really an illness. Which, I think he has a point there. Any kind of love is always magnetic to our highest good. When we focus on another from that place of just wanting their highest good, it is a kind of prayer we offer on their behalf. It helps to amplify their manifesting work. And this kind of intention is a well-documented, powerful thing. When we hold a loving intention for another, it does have an effect. It's all kinds of studies have shown the power of prayer, even when people don't know they're being prayed for. All kinds of different research around that. When a whole group does this for another or from each other, we really raise each other up as a group in a way that we all attract our highest good with greater ease. In fact, this is, in my experience, when we start attracting real miracles, things that are just better than anything we imagined or asked for. So, as I said, I was going to mention this whole weird thing about time. Because another thing we do here is kind of play with time. We hold intention outside of not just space, but time as well. And increasingly, science is showing the nature of reality to be far more fluid and unlimited than it appears, and that consciousness has a virtually limitless power to change physical reality, including the transcendence of time and space as we think of them. Now, this gets a little, mind-boggling, but the research on time is truly mind-boggling. And I'm not going to go terribly in depth on this, but there's some very readable books out there about it. My latest book, The Breakthrough Point, goes into some of that, but one that's, I would say, definitely more in depth on just some of the science and the quantum physics, and all the research on consciousness is Lynn McTaggart. She's a science writer. She's done some amazing books, just pulling together the latest research, really going deeply into the science of consciousness. And her book, particularly on consciousness, that included a lot about time, is The Intention Experiment. The Intention Experiment by Lynn McTaggart, McTaggart. And how this affects our work here is that, by just playing with time a bit, it really shortcuts a lot of the rules of popular practices that teach that we have to perform a series of steps in order to see results, as in read the book, practice the exercises, then see results. Or change your beliefs, change your mind, then see results. I don't believe that that's a given either. Now, it's not that going step by step isn't a perfectly valid way of getting somewhere. It just isn't the only way. And sometimes it's not the best way. And when we free our minds to be intentional outside of time, all kinds of new possibilities open up. We might experience a result before we've practiced any steps or even opened the book. Just because of an intention or a state of consciousness we will hold in the future and send back in time to ourselves. Now, this gets really out there and woo-woo and that sounds good, but, that's really a lot harder to document and research and prove when you think about it. Yeah, that way back then happened to me because of this exercise we're going to do tonight, or, it gets a little fuzzy around the edges. But there is one example that makes it's a really good story about this. It's a story I received from someone who was reading my first book, Holding a Butterfly, and I know him, so I can vouch for him. He's not just making it all up. He said that he woke up one morning with such a bad sore throat and swollen tonsils that he just had to make a doctor's appointment for later that day. But in the afternoon, it just got better so quickly, like almost instantaneously, that he just he canceled the appointment. And the next morning, he awoke with just the slightest touch of it back. And he sat down for his morning meditation. He thought, he'd kind of give it some attention while he meditated. And my book was sitting nearby, so he just grabbed it and randomly opened it up anywhere, happened to open up to the chapter on healing a condition at its start. And he said he wasn't surprised by the synchronicity of the chapter he opened to. Oh yeah, healing, I can open the chapter on healing. Because he's a spiritual guy. He's kind of familiar and used to synchronicities happening. It's kind of cool. But he was completely caught by surprise when he read deeply into the exercise and got to the part where it guided him to send health back in time to himself to 2 p.m. in the past, which he realized is when he suddenly improved the day before. Sometimes that can make our minds go like, huh? Well, it takes a while to kind of grasp it. But that's how crazy all this new reality that we're starting to evolve into is. So over the last few decades, with the popularity of change your mind, change your life teachings, collectively, we've been working on assimilating a whole new truth, a whole new reality, that consciousness alone can change our physical circumstances. And I believe this, starting to assimilate this, is stretching our collective understanding of reality beyond, bigger and bigger and bigger. First beyond a purely mechanical universe, the Newtonian model of the universe, which said, push this and you'll see it move. That's expanded to simply hold an intention and see matter move. By assimilating some of that, it's prepared us to start assimilating even broader understanding of the nature of reality being completely nonlinear. So in other words, hold an intention and see things move on the physical plane can expand to see things move, hold an intention, see things move now as a result of an intention you hold tomorrow. And there's really a significant body of research demonstrating that, yes, intention can change the past. In fact, here's a little quote, a little excerpt from the book I mentioned by Lynn McTaggart, The Intention Experiment. She writes, and I quote, "We believe that consequences of our intentions can occur only in the future. What we do today cannot affect what happened yesterday. However, a sizable body of the scientific evidence about intention violates these basic assumptions about causation." End quote. It's maybe boggling, but it's mind expanding as well. When we let go of the linear constructs of cause and effect and linear time, all kinds of new possibilities open to us. And if you read the book, The Intention Experiment, I highly recommend it. You can even feel her as she, starts to summarize and write her conclusions. you can even feel her brain wiring just going like, no, 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 no. Because she's saying, well, if every thought we think can change the future and change the past, well, what even does that mean? Are we just changing everything with every thought we think and the answer is yes. It's a little hard to wrap our brains around, but the simple answer is yes. So quite simply, by working outside of time and space here, we pull together a much bigger pool. There are thousands of us, not just, 7, 8 of us. They're dropping like flies tonight. And sometimes I think, that says those of us who need to be here, who are really kind of ready to go forward, are the ones who are here, ready to do this work together. And some of why I give all of this explanation is to help our rational minds get out of the way. Let them boggle, let them, do their thing, and then let them just go sit on the sidelines for a bit, because I really have seen people manifest amazing miracles in very short little group experiences. So this is an opportunity for any magnitude of healing, of manifesting, of transforming to happen for you. Any magnitude of miracle is possible tonight if we are willing to not just even believe, but just imagine. Be willing. Simply just say, I'm just going to relax into that tonight and see what happens. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, just close your eyes. We're going to just dive right into it. Close your eyes and relax your body. Quiet your thoughts by first just taking some deep, full breaths. And let your sense of identification shift from the density and limitation of matter to the bright, clear, beautiful energy that is your essence. And all those little particles that make you up, that make up the physical part of you, not the truest part of you, but the physical part, the part that feels so hard to change, the carved in stone. That part of you, all the tiny particles are just starting to spread out and vibrate in love and light, and vibrate with all those little particles that make up all the physical density of the universe around us. And as we leave this density of matter behind and just join with the energy that is the universe, we enter a realm of unlimited possibilities, where time and space and natural law, as we've come to think about it, as we've been conditioned to think about it, they have no bearing. Natural law just, it expands in limitless ways. So see the bright energy of all the other people, those who are here on this webinar, but all the other people who have and will participate in this miracles course. People who might participate because they will or have viewed a recording. All the people who've done this with me live, past tense, or will, future tense. And there's just many hundreds, thousands. We're all vibrating together now. part of universal energy joined in consciousness beyond all the illusionary limits of space and time. Each of us bringing only higher love to the whole. Because when we let go of the density of the physical plane, we let go of the part that pulls us into fear and just allow all that higher love that we are to vibrate together. And just take a moment to, in your heart, welcome all these friends. All these friends you will never meet, and feel the light and energy of this network building, knowing that truly anything is possible. We're doing something that's almost never been done. I mean, this kind of experiment is not typically done, even in New Age, New Thought circles. We're crossing time, crossing space to create a force to work on everyone's behalf. So knowing that truly the sky and beyond is the limit, bring to mind your highest heart's desire. You know, in the same way that all good law of attraction teachings suggest, bring it to mind and imagine it vividly for a moment. Imagine it as though it's already come to pass. You don't have to believe it will. You don't have to believe it's possible. Let go of the idea of belief. Sometimes it can feel like climbing Mount Everest to change a belief. All you have to do is imagine how it would feel if you believed. Imagine this reality as though it's here now. And let this imagining, this little dream, let it fill you with pleasure. Have a light, easy daydream. You don't need to strain or work too hard on this. Just let it be light. Let it be light. Let it be fun, because manifesting work, for it to be effective, needs to be fun. It needs to make us happy. So just imagine this, walk around in this little daydream in a way that it brings a smile to your face. Let it feel good. This isn't work. This is pleasure. And then just take a deep breath and let that go. It's like you let a little butterfly go that lit on your palm for a moment. Because this is where popular practices end and the whole new model begins. Because now imagine yourself able to reach out beyond time and space to every other person who has, is, and will experience these words. Again, you don't have to believe this to be possible. Just imagine what it would feel like if you did. And imagine that as we join hearts and minds, we bring only our highest and best to the meeting, forming a whole pool of consciousness capable of working on behalf of all of us. And then to activate this field of consciousness so it really becomes connected to you personally, for a moment, just let yourself deeply, profoundly love all of these unseen, unknown fellow participants. You know, not for any reason, just because you can. And love them with all your heart, like you would your nearest and dearest. Let their heart's desires matter to you as much as your own. And with just the biggest wave of love you can muster, descend in your imagination the heartfelt desire that miracles now happen for each and every one of them. Just imagine yourself as a parent delivering the most beautifully wrapped birthday gift to the most beloved child, someone you just love dearly, multiplied by many, 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 many times. And your heart is just overflowing from the sheer joy because you know you have the perfect gift. And you don't need to believe this is really doing anything. Just imagine how it would feel if you did believe that your loving intention is quietly making life better for people you'll never know. And you don't even have to know what everybody's going to get. That's not your job. This is just some incredibly beautiful blessing. Like I said, it's all wrapped up. It's got a ribbon and bow, so you can't see what's inside. You're just sending it out, knowing that the right people are going to get their correct and perfect blessing. So imagine how overjoyed all these recipients are going to feel when they just experience that incredible blessing that just shows up in their life. Maybe in ways they never imagined. Maybe it was just what they visioned and perfect, and they hardly believed they could really have it. Or maybe it's so much better than they dreamed that it just takes their life into a whole new reality. So just imagine how thrilled they're going to be, and just think for a moment. If you believed your intention was really doing this, wouldn't you just want to spend your whole day doing this? It's mostly our lack of faith in ourselves. It keeps us from just wanting to send unconditional love to each other all the time. It's the most powerful thing there is. Don't need to believe it. Just imagine how it would feel if you did. And then, just like again, some beautiful butterflies that just lit in your hands. Just imagine them flying away, lightly, easily, gently. And there, you did it. You've become a miracle worker, touching the lives of many people in ways, possibly more profound than you'll ever know. But the other thing to consider is that now countless people who you'll never meet have just done the same for you. Isn't that an amazing thing? Doesn't it feel not just good, but kind of awe-inspiring, knowing that you have this huge team of people in all kinds of different places and all kinds of different even time frames, sending you love and blessings just for no reason than because we all can, that they are now on board making miracles happen in your life. Now, as I said, there are documented studies showing that prayer sent, even to people who don't know they're being prayed for, has an impact. Group prayer has an impact. And what we just did is tremendously impactful. You don't need to do a research project on it. Just know that research has already been done. So you don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to work. Simply be grateful. And anytime you find yourself wondering, even thinking about your own, my heart's desire coming, your own manifestation, that's your sign to take a moment to send love out to all these others who are now part of a network, who've all come together as a little team to support one another in making miracles. Just that, let that be an assignment for the week of just sending love out to all of these others. Again, imagine, personalize it. Imagine you were giving the perfect present to someone who you really love, and they're going to be so thrilled because it is the perfect present. Imagine just doing that like you were the fairy godmother to countless people, and play with that. Let that be fun. Always, it's a pleasure to be with you. Come back next week. We're gonna keep this going, more and more energy raising, more and more working toward big manifesting work. July, in fact, is all about prosperity. So if that's an issue for anyone, that is coming up. Don't miss the other ones in between, though, because as I said, each week adds a piece of the building structure. They all kind of flow together. So, my beloveds, it's always an honor. I love working with you. I kind of feel everybody here, which makes me very happy. Till I see you again, I love and bless you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.